Yeah.
Let's see. I think next step, this is like second to last part of the session this morning. Would Lewis, you're in charge of lyrical contributions, right?
Yeah.
Did you want to go quickly under the skin of you guys' newest EP and give us like a brief summary of what each of the tracks are about?
Yeah, I can give a brief summary. The title track, Duyvelsziele, is about a ritual. It's about a person, could be a guy, could be a girl, doesn't matter, who transcends and ascends into evil ways. There's also the Dutch part, which, if I translate it, is in the void there's no life. I gave my soul to the devil. So that's the translated part. Then you've got the Kelderbode, which is actually a fun story. Rule can tell you about it.
I actually have it here. So the Kelderbode, this is let me put it on frame. This is a newspaper that the grandpa of my girlfriend made, and it is a religious paper, right? So it was a local church paper that was handmade and handwritten, and at some point I found it, going through some old stuff in the attic, and then I thought it was, such a cool vibe, because you see, of course, it has Christ on it, and you see the Kelderbode on there, and I think that started the idea of, can we make a song about that kind of theme, like a local newspaper, someone in the basement kind of, typing at that, I don't know, religious piece, but then kind of going evil, right? So that's kind of the twist to that story. But it's kind of based on that image. I think it actually, I can't remember. I think we even wrote a whole song around it, if I remember correctly, because I found this and I think I showed it to the band, say, hey, look how cool this is, right? And then I think then we only started writing the song. So it really had that kind of theme in mind, and with the church bells coming in, so everything was kind of in that vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only that, but in my opinion, when you truly think about it, most likely that's how the first iteration of the Bible was written. Like either in the basement somewhere over in Jerusalem, just some random fucking hut, or, it was written across the countries. Maybe even part of it was written in caves, It's a similar process, most likely. They just didn't really speak of the context of when and how and where it was written. So that's pretty cool. Next track?
Offsick. Which, if you translate it to English, it's called grave piece or tombstone. Well, not really tombstone, but more something, a piece you put on a tombstone. It's actually loosely based on the Hellraiser franchise, making transcending with pain and pleasure. There's also the more or less, I did a different kind of accent, more Scandinavian, which is based on the Nosferatu film that came out last year. So I did my best Bill Skarsgård impression, but I do a sentence which was from the Hellraiser movies, which is like angels to some, demons to others. So it's based on that, transcending pain, pleasure, filth, all that stuff, all the good stuff. And then you've got the last track, which is Wake. which if you translate it to English, it's still awake, but it's the when
Wake for
people
the dead,
think,
right? Yeah.
The last phase in life, actually,
Yeah.
yeah,
that you watch
it's,
over people before they
yeah,
die.
Oh, like the last 10
yeah.
seconds of life when all the DMT is being released.
No,
No.
not really. It's the part where everyone comes together to say goodbye to the
Oh.
one who's going to die.
Oh, funeral. Funeral.
No, it's not a funeral. It's
Oh.
when they're still
Oh,
alive.
I see. I see.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Dutch thing. I don't know.
No, it's a thing over here too. I guess we usually I don't think there's a term for it, but we'll go with what you guys are going with.
In Dutch, we call it waken. Okay. Also, again, about a ritual, about dark entities trying to form a ritual to a woman who is pregnant, and they're actually trying to put a demon inside of her. All that stuff.
Lovely.
Just light stuff.
Just normal,
Try to keep it
normal
light.
black and devil stuff, you know.
Nonchalantly, yeah. I like it. Okay, cool. And I guess to quickly get through the under the skin session then, and this will probably be the shortest we've done of the year, but just in respect to you guys' time. After then doing a loose lobotomy dissection of this EP, and to in the opinion of the members of 12 Thorns, what distinguishes this first EP maybe from some of the records that inspired it? And this doesn't have to be like, oh, this EP is as good as the other ones. What do you mean? Nothing. That's not what I'm asking. Like, what do you think makes this different, just musically, from those other albums, and maybe for the sake of identity for your band?
Going to say something. Say something. Of course. It's not our debut EP. It's actually our second EP.
Oh, well.
Doesn't matter. But if you look at our first EP, which is called Wreath, and you take the second EP, Duyvelsziele, I think it's way more mature.
Definitely.
Like
Definitely.
we really found, and I go listen to our first EP. It's also on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. These are all that stuff. You can actually hear that we're still looking for a sound that fits us. I'm not saying that our first EP isn't good, especially in the time that it was written, and while we're still still searching for a definitive sound. But I think that the new EP is way more the definitive sound that we actually wanted to accomplish with our first EP, Wreath. So, of course, Wreath also inspired the new EP. Yeah.
I think to add on to that is also the evolution of the artwork. You know, the concept, the creations. All credits to Louis, of course, for helping us out with that. He's really great, and designing, coming up with the concept of the lyric, the concept of the EP, and the concept of the artwork. And I think that is a really high step forward compared to our first EP.
Yeah, and for this band, that all needs to match, right? So we're super precise on, okay, what does that need to look like? The vibe needs to match. If you look at the album cover, you see the live show, you listen to the sounds, you listen to the interlude, it should be like a logical thing that you're looking at something from 12 Tones, right? So, but I would say fully agree with everything, like more mature, of it, more the definitive sound. And I think if we think about the next thing, right, we will probably evolve further, but I think the bass is more solid now, and I think that the bass sound of 12 tones you hear back on Duyvelsziele.
Also to add on, by the way, thanks for the compliment, Eric. But vocal-wise, the first EP I was fully focused on technique and on an emotion. And I think even in Duyvelsziele, there's still technique, of course, but I put more emotion in it. I do more one-takers instead of doing things sentence for sentence for sentence. There's also something, doing a recording session with our guest vocalist, Stan from Deeproot, like he did everything in one take. And I was like, I do a sentence, I stop, do the sentence again, and so on and so on. But I really got inspired in the way how he recorded it. And Roel, who is the producer for the EP, and also for every recording that we do. But he was also more like, can you do it in one take? Can you do it with more emotion? Can you do it with, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You need to feel the pain and the anger. And that's also something in Wreath, there is, in my opinion, if I look back, there's way less emotion in the way that the vocals are done instead of the new EP.
I think it's more flat. You know, the general sound is like really flat. No, you have a lot of contrast in our new EP, Duyvelsziele. It's way more
dynamics. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time on dynamics. Like if you want to have something hit heavy, like a beat down or something, you need to, dial it back a little bit before that thing hits, because if everything is continuously at 11, then nothing stands out. So I think indeed dynamic. Quickly want to correct, I want to give full production credits to Ramon Kluft from Vibrant Audio Works. He did the full production of Duyvelsziele, super happy with it. I did the recording, right, and I think that's what you're referring to. But I want to give a shout out to Ramon, because he did an excellent job and really kind of elevated our sound as well. And super happy with the end product. So if I have an opportunity to do a quick shout out to him, I will.
Absolutely. And I do apologize too, in retrospect, because I was completely oblivious to this not being your debut EP, and I'm glad that we got that corrected in session, because depending on how quickly I can get this crosscast out beforehand, that is absolutely how I would have worded it. And then there it wouldn't be too much of an issue, but it'd be like, ooh, like I didn't really. Then it makes it, I guess, it makes it feel like I didn't really do my homework, and this was truly something that was done last minute. I'm like, oh, another band from the Netherlands, like, let's go. So thank you for correcting me on that. Final question then for the Under the Skin part would be, why did Duyvelsziele became an EP? Like, why did it become an EP instead of an album if you guys already had an EP out?
It's a good question, and I think it comes back a little bit on how we multiple things, right? So first of all, I think we need to lock in our sound, and we felt like we had a good group of songs that kind of defined the 12-tone sound. So I think that's part of it. The other thing is we're not a full-time band, like we're a part-time band, so we have to kind of balance in how you keep momentum as a band, not kind of go into full blackout mode for 1.5 years because you're writing like eight tracks and recording that. So we wanted to make sure that we put out some new material, and that was one of the reasons why we went for the EP. I do think we all believe that our next step now after this kind of second EP would be a full length. So that would be our next move if we think about the writing process. We're in the midst of release, right? So we're not writing yet, but I think we all know that kind of the next step would be not a new EP, maybe one single in between, but definitely an kind of full length style record that we'll be working towards.
Yeah, I think, like, I agree with everything Will says. We talked about this. On a marketing standpoint, I think, especially with these days where everything is digital, I think EPs and singles is the way to go. Like, you can get an even amount of exposure and a bigger fan base with the release of an EP, even with a single. Just look at To the Hellfire by Lorna Shore.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, of course, we want to do a full length. Everyone wants to do a full length. It's something to be proud of if you do a full length. Is it necessary? I don't know. I think if you do a very good single like To the Hellfire, it serves the purpose of releasing music. And if Duyvelsziele was a debut album instead of an EP, I think we would get the same amount of feedback and recognition than what we do now. So we would have put way more effort in it, and eventually the reward would be the same.
So actually, it's minimal effort, maximum result on this.
Yeah, sounds negative, but it's the
Yeah, and so I think it's a good point. So it needs to be the right time for the full length, and I think we still have potential of kind of getting bigger and getting audience engagement through EPs and singles. So that's still for us the logical step to do, and it still kind of gives us the benefit that we're looking for as well, and the exposure. At some point there is a tipping point, right? Well, people look at you, and especially if labels get engaged, right? A full length is then for the art as well a little bit more interesting. You have a little bit as a fan as well an experience of maybe listening to like a full 30 to 45 minutes of a piece of art in a certain extent. So but indeed we need to be smart about it, right? Again, we're not a full-time band, so we need to plan our moves logically, maximize the time and maximize the effort indeed, and the results.
I think that a full-length album is also more interesting when we're talking about physical media.
Yeah.
Like, we all want Duyvelsziele to be on a big vinyl LP, of course. Cost-wise, have to look at Eric, of course. It's tough. It's difficult to do that.
It's not interesting actually for us now. On this phase, it's not interesting because the investment is too big.
Yeah. And for collectors, of course, and there are a lot of people who want a Duyvelsziele LP or physical media, but like Eric said, it's not interesting for us at this moment. But when we're doing a full length, of course, we want that to be on physical media. It has to be interesting for us. So looking at it at a business wise. That's one of the reasons why it's an EP.
Yeah, fair enough. And not only that, but like speaking upon marketing approach and road mapping for bigger releases and stuff, I know one band that I've been inspired by, ironically, has been Distant, because what they did during their Aeons of Oblivion cycle was create multiple EPs that had multiple features on them. They built that up, had 3 EPs, and then dropped a couple more songs, and then we had Aeons of Oblivion, right? This massive record with an album cover that actually expands upon the EP cover of one of the EPs, and then it just collects everything into one go, provides, I think, more incentive for physical merch acquirement. Not only that, but when they do the storybook writing that they do, which I have, I think, The Rise of Tarantophobia from Indie Merch. I have a copy of that because I thought it was very, very fascinating. In my opinion, when it comes to becoming a bigger band, of course, you have to have these standalone singles. You have to have your first couple EPs. But then if you can make it happen, and if it works together well enough, maybe not putting a year in between an EP and then a corresponding album. I think Distant's approach to marketing and how they've been releasing their music, or how they did release their music during the Aeons of Oblivion cycle, it was really unique. And I'll tell you what, that's definitely something that I plan to do with my own project. Like, literally, I want it to be an annual band, which requires a lot of money, sure, but still, like, the ambition necessary to potentially create a 17 to even 40 track album, well, that requires at least 2 years of EP, and then big album, the same way that they did. And that's more or less the intention when I have the budget to do so and the consistent musicians to work with to make it happen. So that will be the end of Under the Skin for Duyvelsziele.